So Pete, what are your memories when Nana came out? Any specific memories when you were young and Nana coming to the farm?
Yeah, so I remember going to visit Grand Nana and Fred Ginther at Bellevue Street and in Milton, and like after Fred died and Nana was on her own, I think she came out more and more, and then ended up just living with us at the farm.
Would Nana and Fred both visit you when Fred was still alive? Did they both come out to the farm?
I don't remember Fred coming out to the farm, but he might have.
Okay.
I remember the other Ginthers coming out from Nunda.
Yeah, I've forgotten. There's that Sid Ginther's family.
Sid Ginther, yeah.
Okay.
Sid Ginther would come out in his old E.J. Holden
Okay.
that he had since new. It was with this beautiful car. He would even drive out when we were in the brick house to visit. Yeah.
So I've actually not met Sid, but I'm planning to meet his children with Uncle Peter at some point.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's go back to the dairy now again. So what's your earliest memories yourself of, obviously your father was the main milker, your mum was probably in the house a fair bit. What are some of your early memories of going down to the dairy and what your watching your father and that sort of thing?
So I would go, one of my jobs was to take a thermos in the morning up to Dad.
A cup of tea or coffee or something?
Yeah, a cup of tea, a thermos, with tea in it. And I would take that up. From Mum would get me to take that up to Dad in the dairy. And there was almost always someone there, because we used to have Boys Town boys come out.
Yeah, we still did even later on actually.
Yeah, and I think that's why it was called the boys' room, because that's where the Boys Town kids used to sleep. Yeah.
I remember David Chicken one time we must have visited from Mackay, and David Chicken was one of the Boys Town boys because threw me on the back of his horse and took me to the dairy, and I was stung by a bee. I think your father would have been milking.
Oh yeah. So there was always, I think, I never remember Dad being there by himself, unless there was someone sick or something, away or something like that. I always remember him being there with someone else at the dairy. But yeah, I used to take the thermos up, and there was always a bit, out, you'd walk up through the wood pile and all the sticky nettles and past the cottage, and there was always bits and pieces of machinery around, old machinery that was around parked in there, and the cottage on the way up used to be a pig pen underneath it.
Yes, I remember that.
We used to have pigs in there, and Dad used to get someone else in who had a pig trap, and we used to trap pigs out in the cultivation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we'd often get the little piglets, and we'd bring them up and we'd trap them and put the pigs, sometimes the adult pigs, but put them in that pig pen there.
Wow.
And feed them, and then
that becomes a food source.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So he might have done that at Darlington, possibly. Might have been something he grew up doing. Trapping.
Maybe, yeah. But the dairy the cottage used to be like a silo. We used to keep all corn in there. We used to grow corn and stockpile it in there full of corn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there used to be a trapdoor on the floor that you'd open up and you'd be able to bag corn in that. So it was already taken off the cob, and it was just, grain.
So where would you have got, you just bought that sort of thing?
No, he used to grow corn.
He grew corn?
Yeah, he used to grow corn.
And that's where he stored it in the cottage?
We had a machine that used to take all the husk off,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then it just get fed into, you'd have this, inside the cottage was this massive pile of, you could see into it. It was a massive pile of corn.
Okay. And was that used as part of grain to feed the cows? Is that part of their food sort of thing?
Yeah, and the pigs. Yeah,
and the pigs,
Okay. But it was only half, because I remember there was a hessian wall inside the cottage, and half of it was junk, and half of it was this silo. Yeah, big pile. So the riverside was junk, and the other side was like a silo. They constructed this silo, this wall sort of between the two, and made a hessian, and
like a storage, because the hay shed wasn't there at that point, or he built it, and your father built the hay shed?
The hay shed was always there when I was a kid.
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
So he had what they used to call a big forage harvester, and that. He used to drag along a big machine that would like you'd cut all the jumbo down or whatever it was you were growing, and you used to fill the forage harvester up with basically, hay, and you used to have pitchforks and stuff like that you'd take it out then, and you'd feed the cows with it. Instead of throwing out bales, you'd be standing on the back of do you remember the big forage harvester?
Yeah.
Like a big trailer thing that was, it was really quite tall, and you'd have something that would like throw all the hay into this big forage harvester.
So it went up the top out of a spout, is that?
Yeah, out of the spout.
That's thrown out.
Yeah, out of the spout and into the forage harvester thing.
Yeah.
And so you'd have the tractor, the forage harvester, and this other trailer. So you'd have the tractor, the thing that would cut it down and pick it up and throw it into this big other trailer. And then you'd drag the trailer around and
throw it out to all the
cows with a pitchfork kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because the trailer, it had like a tailgate kind of thing at the back of it. And,
Did he also, sorry, keep going?
Yeah, so there was all that inside the hay shed, and then I think we stopped sort of doing that, and used to get a baler in and bale up all the hay, all the whatever was growing there, and I've got some photos there of Massey Ferguson, the 135 Massey Ferguson tractor out, and you can see how high it all is.
We might have to get a few days later and take some film of them actually, and
underneath the cottage was all these old bottles underneath there, and
bottles,
yeah.
What were they of?
Oh, soft drink bottles and beer bottles and castor oil bottles.
Was there a reason they were kept there, or was it just to become a junk pile?
It was like a bit of a junk pile. I think it was there to keep for later, but no one ever got them out. There was Granny used to call it I don't know how they even got them in. There was a big steel tank, like a big tub. It was a ship's tank, Granny said. Huh. It was underneath there, and it was all full of bottles anyway. I got in there one time when we were in the early 70s, mid 70s, and I grabbed a whole heap of bottles out, because a lot of Tristan bottles there, and you used to get 10 cents each for them. So I got them all out and sold them down, cleaned them all up and took them to the round shop and cashed in on.
No fortune, bought your first house.
Well, I think I was saving up for the Sitmar cruise that we were going on, or some holiday that we were going on. I wanted some cash, and so that's it. But yeah, so underneath the cottage was all that. The hay shed was next.
Did anyone live in the cottage in your time ever? No. Do you remember if anyone did live in there prior to Katie's time? Did anyone? So it was supposed to be the workers' cottage, wasn't it? It was set up. Do you know the history of that cottage, or?
No, look, I understood it was there as I understood that there was Granny said that there was a slab hut somewhere, some sort of a shelter that was set up when the Buckleys set up when they first got there. Then the cottage got built, and it used to be 3 rooms, and I think it had the detached kitchen, like that little garage.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I think then that detached kitchen became part of a bigger house. And the parts of the slab hut, I think, were. You remember there was a lean-to at the back of the cottage?
Yeah.
Where all the machinery was kept?
Yeah.
I think either Dad or someone else used the rough-cut timber as the walls for that.
Right.
So there was just a basic structure, a lean-to at the back, a skillion roof.
Yeah.
And on the roadside and the riverside, there was walls there, and they were rough-cut timber, and hanging on the back of the inside that machinery part where we used to keep the tractors in there, and we had like the John Deere, the Massey Ferguson, and I think there was the Chamberlain before that was in there, and a couple of other bits of machinery. But in the cottage there was all like the collars you used on the horses to pull them up, to pull all the ploughs and
the hay
and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so all the collars would be sitting up there, and all hanging up on the back of the cottage.
Yeah.
And the bridles and all the other leather gear that was there for the horses and stuff like that. It was all still
Okay, so really no one ever lived No one ever lived in there?
No, it was. No.
No.
Not when I was there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, before we go on to back talk to hay shed as well, horses. What was your, did your father ride horses, like to round up the cows, or what did he do? Do you remember him rounding up the cows and things like that? Your father?
Yeah. We had
or your family, or even Granny's. I mean, Granny would have had some history of being at the farm as a child, not a lot, but.
Yeah, so we had the horse paddock was the paddock,
across from Granny's house there.
Across from the cottage.
Yeah.
Yeah, further down. You had the dam there, of course, beside Granny's house.
Yeah.
And you had the horse paddock where we kept all the horses, really. And there was about 3 or 4 of them there. There was the stallion, the gelding, Betsy, and there was another one. Paw. Yeah. And we had a pony. I'm just trying to think of the name of the pony that Granny bought. It was a great pony. But yeah, I remember going over to the pocket, because over at the pocket was the dip.
Yeah.
And we'd take all the cows over.
I've got memory of that too, actually.
On horseback, you'd take all the cows over. We round up all the cows with the horses.
When you say we, who's we? You, your father?
Yeah, and
maybe the Boys Town boys?
Yeah, or it might have been the Longleys back in those days.
Oh yeah, so some workers would have come to help, that's true.
Mm.
You remember the girls going at all? Because they were quite young actually. When you were living at Granny's, the girls were actually, may have been too young by the time your father stopped at the farm. Yeah, so.
Yeah. The pony was the best horse out of all of them.
Oh.
It was, and Granny bought it as a gift, a Christmas gift for everyone.
Oh, really?
For all the grandkids.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I only remember Pawpaw and Betsy actually. There's another one obviously. Yeah. Okay, so you had a fair bit to do with riding horses yourself, didn't you, as a child?
Yeah.
You rode a fair bit.
Yeah. As a kid,
Yeah.
And then later on we got motorbikes.
Yeah.
And
did you jump on bareback a lot as a child?
mostly like if you're going out to, if you're just riding around the house or something, just going for a bit of you might not go to the trouble of putting a saddle on. But yeah, you're only allowed to get on the horses if adults sort of.
With you.
Yeah.
Did you ever see your mother ride or Granny ride ever, the horses, or not? No. Yeah. Okay. But your dad rode a bit.
Yeah. He rode a bit.
Okay. Yeah.